aptly mentioned about the very ad hoc and arbitrary foreign policy during the time of PTI's rule. And then by the end of it, closer to 2022, there was this huge controversy surrounding the wire, and that was sent by the ambassador, and where Mr. Imran Khan blamed the US-backed administration of trying to topple his government. But now, fast forward to 2024, we see that, and apparently it was the news yesterday. I'm not sure how authentic that may be, but it has been making the headlines that Imran Khan has made some has made some demonstrative calls to the international organizations such as the IMF, and is also calling upon the US administration to look into the malpractices that the PTI is claiming have happened to take place during these recently concluded elections. And there was also in the news that he's asked that the IMF, before agreeing on another bailout program, should reevaluate and revisit, given the human rights practices that have been being employed in Pakistan, the election rigging that has been taking place. So, in that essence, how do you feel the relationship between the West and Pakistan is likely to evolve? And how, in your point of view, you're based in DC, you're very well embedded in the think tank policy circle as well. How are they viewing this election cycle and the claims of riggings that are being made? And is there any possibility of the West, whether that's the US administration, the international organizations, or other bilateral partners, taking note of PTI's claim and reacting to it or responding to it?
There has been rhetorical admission, there's been, sort of letters written, and I think a lot of it has to do with sort of the Pakistani diaspora here, within the US, people in positions of affluence, and many of them sort of, see also Imran Khan as this charismatic leader who can speak his mind, right? And they have been, I think, and it's an interesting sort of position that they have put themselves in, and to create distance with this kind of uncomfortable truth about Imran Khan flagging this this attempt to basically to subvert the democratic government in Pakistan. And of course, there's a history, and it rang, it sort of it touched a nerve clearly amongst the local populace, which had been subjected to 20 years of, sort of post 9/11 sort of fallout within Pakistan, no matter what the Pakistani state's position was, in the global war on terror. But so I think the local American Pakistanis kind of felt that, they have a right as dual citizens, right, to apply pressure on, on American policymakers to try and uphold this principle of democracy. I think there's still no love lost for Imran Khan.
Mm.
I think it was at least embarrassing because the US has, I mean, if you look at Mossadegh, if you look elsewhere, so many places around the world, I mean, Chile, with the Inca, with bringing in Pinochet, etc. So there's a long history of American involvement. It's just like this is not the way to have done it. And the US still exercises considerable influence around the world, but does so including our part of the world, but in different ways. So, so it's ironic that while Imran Khan was like decrying, and this I remember going to the Minare-Pakistan gathering the
Mm.
first time that it was coming to the fore and taken as a serious political player when there was this very elaborate,
Mm.
public
Yeah.
gathering that he did. And he'd
In
been railing against the
2011, yeah.
IMF. Right. Excuse me.
In 2011, I reckon it happened.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So, and he had a, in a sense, he had a point because he said that, look, I mean, we try with simplistic rendering, and you probably have a better sense of this, but I remember him saying that, we get into these foreign debts, and then we
Mm.
start, in particular, he's talking about the IMF, and look at how much we have, money we have to spend on servicing those debts. And and then at the same time we are pressured to depreciate the rupee, and that increases, while the idea is that, hey, it's going to make us more competitive internationally. the way that our economy is, it doesn't really do a lot of that. But
Mm.
what we do is start ending up paying more dollars, right?
Yeah.
So he said, I want to break the begging bowl. Others have said it too, but uh, you know, uh, the IMF loan is a way, in which the international community and the US administration can still exercise some influence because that loan is desperately needed.
Mm.
What good that loan is going to also do is, again, a very lengthier topic. I mean, if we look at, the ability of the IMF to bring about sustainable pro-poor growth, I mean, is again a
Mm.
very contested topic.
Yeah.
So, but those difficult decisions, would need to be met. So, I mean, like public spending is going to become a no-no again, right? And because the loans have to be serviced, the security establishment is going to take its own pound of flesh, and the
Mm.
market mechanism is going to be used to try and bring about, to put Pakistan back enough on its feet where it can serve, in the lower cogs of the global political economy, which is extractive right up to the top. I mean, if you look at the one percenters, for instance, which are that discrepancy between growth and inequality is something that plays out around the world, and it's going to play out in Pakistan, countries like Pakistan as well, and where there's little institutional capacity, little prospects of growth. That the chances are that that stress is passed on, to the population further, and there's already polarization. So it is, in the security sense, in the sense of the climate, which is again not what Pakistan's doing, what it's suffering right now. All those stresses do exist, and now we have a weak coalition that has to try and manage this process using the existing mechanisms, which are lopsided, and problematic in their own right. But
Yeah.
that's the way that I think it's going to continue going.
Actually, that's a great segue to my next question, and I was just going to come to that. You've just mentioned in the end that it's a weak coalition, and rightly so. It is a weak coalition because it is formulated between a merger of the second and the third largest party, and it doesn't. It completely. It's not led by the PTI-backed independents who secured the highest number of majority seats in the National Assembly. Anyhow, there's this narrative that has been created, just narrative or unjust. I wouldn't really go into that argument, but people do feel aggrieved that their mandate has been stolen. And PTI has been quite vocal about the fact that, again, there was systematic rigging that happened prior to the elections as well as on the day and the night of the election. All in all, this puts the coalition government in a very weak spot given the trust and the acceptance that it tends to generate from the public, from the masses. And now we are looking ahead, and the country is still in a policy crisis, and there's some key and tough economic decisions that need to be made. And usually, those tough economic decisions mean that they are not populist in nature. They are further going to put the pressure on the common man, and the brunt will be faced by people, the citizens of the country.